Hey everybody, it's Corey Stewart here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Hope you're having a great week so far, and I hope you have a great time on St. Patrick's Day tomorrow. Tomorrow is St. Patrick's Day, one of my favorite holidays. So anyway, hey, look, as I talked about before, we have a convention coming up here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. We're one of the few states in the United States that has an off-year election for governor. And we've got all kinds of people who are running not just for governor, but they're running for state delegate, and they're running for governor and lieutenant governor and attorney general and so forth. And we'll be talking a little bit more about them. But in order to vote in the Republican convention, which is going to be on May the 8th, this coming May, you got to sign up as a delegate. Now, kudos for the State Central Committee for changing the rules so that there are many places where you can vote across Virginia. I believe it's 36, maybe 37 locations where you can drop off your ballot on May the 8th. And it'll be someplace close to you, close to your locality. You can just simply fill out the ballot and drop it off and you're done. Okay, but in order to do that, you got to sign up as a delegate. And there's a process to that. And it depends on which county you're from. It's the same registration form, which I believe you might be able to find at Virginia GOP or vagop.org or something like that. But you should really go to your local party office or your local party website. And they have different deadlines, okay? But there are two that are coming up. In Hampton Roads and in Hampton and in Newport News. Newport News and Hampton, those forms are due. One is due on Friday, this coming Friday. The other one's due, I believe, on Monday. So you're going to want to fill those forms out. If you live in those jurisdictions, either in Hampton or Newport News, you need to get on the website for the local Republican Party, either the Hampton GOP or the Newport News GOP. Fill out the form, complete it, and then get it in to your wherever they want you to mail it or drop it off. But it's got to be done, I believe, by this Friday or Monday. Now, for every other locality in the state, there are deadlines as well, but they're just not coming up so quickly. So if you want to do the process, and it's really the next step to keeping the Trump movement alive here, you got to go ahead and you got to participate in the process to keep the rhinos out, to keep the never Trumpers out, to make sure that, the Mitch McConnells of the world and the Romneys of the world are not renominated as the Republican nominees for any public office. I don't care what it's for. If it's for dog catcher or whatever, I don't want Mitch McConnell being my locally elected dog catcher. I don't want Mitch McConnell or Mitt Romney or any of those other rhinos or Pete Snyder representing me or representing my party inside of an election, okay? That's me, and I'm going to tell you that's what we have to do to prevent them from the establishment from retaking over our party, not just in Virginia, but across the country, folks, across the country. So much is riding on this. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit more about Pete Snyder because he's done some really duplicitous, misleading stuff, and he's been saying misleading information. Now, as I pointed out in one of my prior videos, he called President Trump, then candidate Trump, he called him a racist jerk when President Trump was running for president in 2016. Well, this has been getting out there, thanks to all of you who are watching, and he's been asked this question: didn't you call President Trump a racist jerk? And then he'll quickly say, well, yeah, maybe I did, but it was taken out of context. Well, no, Pete, it wasn't. And then the other thing he said is, I gave him $50,000. Really? How does that add up? How did he give him $50,000? Now, let me ask you this question. Do you know that there are campaign limits in this country? There are campaign limits. And they're about $2,700, back then too, about $2,700 per person per race. So in other words, if you could provide, $5,400 maximum, back in 2016 to the Trump campaign, and you could have your spouse do it. That's another $5,400 maximum. But even then, it adds up to $10,800. So Pete's saying he gave $50,000 to President Trump. Where? How did he do that? Me thinks that there's something not quite honest there. But here's the other kicker, where he's caught in just a red-handed lie, folks. Okay, and that is where he claims that he was a Trump delegate to the National Convention in 2016. That is an outright lie. That is just not true. Now, the way that delegates are selected to the National Convention is, you are, at least back in Virginia back at that time, is that you were chosen by the candidate, or the candidate was able to earn a certain number of delegate votes at the convention or whatever the process was, and then the candidate would choose which delegates for his or her allotted share, would go to the National Convention. Well, I can guarantee you that Pete Snyder did not go to the National Convention as a Trump supporter, okay? He just called the guy a racist jerk, and at that point, now, if he's going to say that by the mere fact that he was a delegate to the National Convention in 2016, therefore he was a, quote, Trump delegate, well, that's a very misleading thing to say, because you came there to vote for, at the National Convention, the candidate that sent you there. Now, there are plenty of people who went to the National Convention in 2016, not as Trump supporters, but maybe they were supporters of Cruz, or maybe they were supporters of somebody else, and that's fine. One of somebody who I have some respect for, and that's Ken Cuccinelli. He came around, and he went to that convention, and he went there as a Cruz, supporter. But he eventually came around, and he actually served in the administration. And then, Cuccinelli was clearly, and is today, clearly a Trump supporter. But here's the difference between him and Pete. Pete never recanted his comments in public stating that Trump was not a racist. He never recanted his comments saying that Trump was a racist jerk. He never recanted that. All right? He never did it in public. So what that tells me is, it's not so much whether or not he became a Trump supporter later on. He is dishonest. Look, folks, he is dishonest when he said he was a Trump supporter. He called Trump a racist jerk. He never recanted those comments. Then, in response to people challenging about it, then he says that he went to the National Convention as a Trump delegate. Blatantly false. Absolutely false. Then he says that he's given Trump $50,000. Well, the maximum per person is essentially $5,400 per campaign. So how does that add up, Pete? It doesn't. When the guy talks and his lips are moving, you apparently know that he's not telling you the truth. And that, to me, is the most disturbing thing of all about him. Okay, but I'm going to end this up by saying this. Remember, if you want to keep the rhinos out, if you want to keep the establishment from reasserting themselves and taking over the Republican Party, you have to participate in the process, whatever state you're in. And in Virginia this year, that means that you have to sign up as a delegate to the state unassembled convention, which is on May the 8th. And there's different deadlines depending upon where you live in Virginia, which county you live. And I'm going to keep you abreast of all this stuff. But if you live in Hampton or if you live in Newport News, those deadlines are coming up. So you need to get on the website for the GOP, for those particular committees, the Hampton GOP or the Newport News GOP. Download that application, fill it out, and send it in or mail it in or hand it in, whatever you have to do. That way you can participate and make sure that we don't get rhinos, that we don't get never Trumpers as our nominees for governor or dog catcher or whatever. So but you need to participate. All right, folks, you have a great day. I'll talk to you soon.